Good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning to each and every one of you. Welcome to Mornings with Martha, where authenticity lives and thrives to create a space of growth, healing, and joy. I am your host, Andrea Lawful Sanders, and each day we will cover the topics that are informative and engaging while learning from each other. This morning we have two guests again. So one of them is our usual Cherie Syfax in the Love Is segment. The first one is Rachel Hannibal, who is our money coach. So she'll be on in a second. I just want to make you aware of these earrings that I'm wearing, right? They're from my daughter, Janelle. Every day I'm wearing a different pair. These are super, super light, right? I don't like heavy earrings at all. So she makes it a point to give me the earrings that are not heavy. And so I convinced her to put all her stuff on a website. Well, me and other people, because we've been telling her she's gifted for a long time. So LaRue pieces dot square dot site. I put it up in the chat so you guys can see it. Take a look at that, okay? And then we can go from there. It's Christmas. Her pieces range from $15 to I think the most is $35. Easy Christmas gift for people. I'm doing this on purpose because I believe she's absolutely gifted and I want to support her in all she says and does. I am going to let Rachel Hannibal in and now. It's 6. Good morning, my darling. How are you?
I am unstoppable. How are you?
You are unstoppable as usual. Let me introduce you to the folks because there's some news I want to cover around Venezuela and other stuff that's happening. Just a lot happening in the world right now, and I'm trying to keep people abreast while working on our personal stuff like finances. Let me introduce you to the folks though. Hold on one second. There's a lot going on in the world. Rachel Hannibal is a certified financial education instructor and founder of Missing Peace, PEACE Financial Group. She became debt free, paying off over $150,000 worth of debt. She's going to talk about people who are unbanked and underbanked. I can't wait for us to have this conversation because we make so many assumptions that people have bank accounts. So let's get started. What is an unbanked person or underbanked?
First of all, great morning. Thank you for having me. An unbanked person is someone who does not have a traditional bank account. With all of the FDIC insurance and all of the services and coverages that come with a bank account.
Mhm.
An underbanked person is someone who does have a bank account, but regularly uses other alternative payment methods, Cash App, PayPal, Venmo. They use those kinds of things pretty often, actually more often than they are using their bank account. So those are the ways that we define those two categories, unbanked and underbanked.
Okay.
And there's multiple reasons for this.
Okay. Go ahead. Go
The
ahead.
number one reason is trust.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Neck and neck with that is convenience and laziness. Can I just say that?
Ooh.
Unfortunately.
Ooh. Say
Um,
more.
I mean, we don't want to get up and go down to the bank and go through all of the things that is needed to have an actual bank account, right? The identification, making sure we're getting get all our paperwork together, right? Bringing mail down there, all those things that they're requiring. We don't have to, we don't have to do all of that to use Cash App. We don't have to do all of that to use PayPal or those things. And so, but with that comes, they're asking for these things because there's protections in place, right?
Mm-hmm.
There are a wide range of services and access to financial accounts and different things that we can do that will
Mm-hmm.
benefit us, which is why they need to make sure we are who we are, right? And so those are the things, the top reasons that we are seeing why people are using these alternative methods on a day-to-day basis.
So you once you go to the bank and prove your identity, though, you can bank online. You never have to go back into the bank, right? You can, because listen, I've wired money from online. I have move checks online. I have, move things from one place to the other online. And it took me a while. I got to tell you, it took me a while because my sons were doing it. They don't even know, they know how to write a check, but they don't write checks anymore. And if someone sends them a check, they just deposit it online. And they kept saying, Mommy, try. And I was like, I'm stubborn. And as a woman of a certain age, I was like, I'm accustomed to going into the bank, letting them see I'm handed in my check kind of thing. I've now moved into the 21st century. Okay, good enough. So there's that. But here's my thought: if they know they can do online banking once they prove their identity, could it be that many people cannot really prove, or let me say, don't feel like they have the wherewithal to open up a bank account because they've bounced checks in the past, because they've had some things going on. You see where I'm going with this?
Yes, absolutely. All the above. And add there that our people are moving around more often than before. So if I have to prove where I live, I have to bring in two pieces of mail. That may be difficult if every other year I have to keep moving around because I my rent is going up, or and I can't afford to stay there, or I'm
Yes.
unstable. There's that is actually happening more often than before. That we used to be able to just use grandmom's house. Everyone's getting mail at grandmom's house, but unfortunately, we don't. Our young people, we don't have that. We're moving around
Oh
too
my
much.
God. I didn't think about that, Rachel. I did not think about that part. The
Yeah.
other thing that is resonating with me, the more banks are becoming obsolete in a certain way, and that's deliberate. Tell me what you know about that, or is it just me talking outside of my neck?
Well, I think that the headlines in certain areas is deliberate. To believe that we know that one of the top reasons I mentioned this earlier is trust, right? And we know what areas or what demographics have the most trust in our traditional banking systems. And so, of course, we are going to put the news out in certain areas to say these things are going down, this bank is going down, this is happening. The headlines are not the same everywhere. I subscribe to a lot of financial online informations and a lot of really great, key, unbiased
Mm-hmm.
news reports when it comes to what's happening in our financial world. And then I
Mm-hmm.
see what our social media is posting, the headline. I'm saying, well, that's a different headline. So those things are intentional because they want to block us out of wealth, of generational wealth, of financial freedom, right? It's really difficult to get a home if you don't have 2 years of banking history. If you don't have 2 years of banking history, I can charge you whatever I want to charge you for this 30 or 40-year mortgage that you are getting ready to have. And you will never, there will be no home ownership in your family. You will not outlive that. Right. And so that is really intentional. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm one of those people that I pay attention to what this blogger posted versus about the same news. I'm one of
Mm-hmm.
those people, and so that I believe is intentional.
Okay, this is crazy as hell. For the people who are unbanked, that can't afford to go and be banked, if that even makes sense. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes,
How do
ma'am.
we help them to get to a place where they can go into a bank and open up a bank account? Because these places all charge fees.
Yes, and you have to wait longer. And you have to wait longer. So I'm going to answer your two questions, and there was some two scenarios that happened this week that I need to speak to. So, we need to make sure our people have the proper identification. We need to make sure you have identification. Um, a lot of people are not updating. I know with the real IDs, there was a lot happening. And so, and even that, like the headlines about, oh, they're asking for blood samples to get, I'm like, they are not. You all are being dramatic, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we need proper ID for our people, and we need stable housing. We need a home that we can stay in for more than 2 years, um,
Mm-hmm.
so that we can feel at home. We can feel, safe. We can feel
Mm-hmm.
safe and we can trust more. So those are the two main things that we need to do to be able to get our people a part of this building wealth banking system.
So Rachel, I can't tell you how many people I've met since I've gotten online in media, 2016, that don't know where their birth certificate is, cannot find their social security cards. That process is daunting for many. And so they just kind of waffle in the wind, right? Um, how do we help? Because it's going to require somebody to support and help them to get this done. I was a part of a system in the court system, mentoring folks who are caught up in the system um, years ago. Right here in Philly, wasn't living in Philly, but I was coming into Philly. I signed up to be a mentor for people who've been charged with drug use, drug selling, that kind of stuff, and they're giving them a second chance. And there were a bunch of us who were mentors. And the guy that I got was late 20s, first charge as a drug runner, and he had no identification. And I remember going to court with him in King of Prussia and saying to the judge, "Look, we've got to figure out how to help him." And so we got all the paperwork. I helped him get the paperwork, what he needed to fill out, so he could get his documentation. And he said to me when it all came, he felt so free. Like he had some sort of identity instead of just living in the shadows. And I think a lot of people are unaware how many people who are born and raised in this country have not been able to get any kind of formal ID.
Yeah. Yeah, within the last few weeks, my mom drove a young lady down to get her appointment so she can get her birth certificate, the birth certificates for her children, and their social security cards.
Yeah.
The people in her family was just saying, just make an appointment, just go, just go. My mom said, I'm going to take her
Yeah.
down there.
Mhm.
And she felt, incredible after my mom took her down there. But
Yeah.
everyone else was just like, just go. And so I think that again, I mentioned last time we were together, it still continues to take a village.
Mhm.
It still
Mhm.
continues to take a village. If you are going downtown a particular day and you know that someone is struggling with this particular thing or has been complaining about it or whatever, say, hey, I'm going down next Thursday. See if
Mhm.
you can, I can take you down there.
Yeah.
Or let's read over the paperwork. Don't assume that people understand and comprehend what is
That part.
required. But maybe we need to
That
read
part.
it to them. Maybe we need to explain it to them
And the
without
fact that they're going
judgment.
without judgment, and the fact that they're going in and don't really know what they're asking for, we tend to, when we're working in these spaces of, with folks, that we can be judgmental, right? What do you mean you don't have? What do you mean you don't know? What? Listen, it's daunting for many people. Dolores asked a question. She says, do you have to have the real ID? No.
No,
If you have a driver's license, just get your driver's license renewed. If you just want to have a regular ID, that's fine. You know what I mean? I think a lot of people felt like they had to have the real ID in order to move forward. And the wait for this now is 6, 7, 8 months in some places. And there are only certain places, certain driver's license centers in the Commonwealth that are doing the appointments for them because they take so long. If you have a regular driver's license and you have some other form of ID like a passport, go on and go get your license renewed or get your ID renewed. Don't worry about the real ID part of it right now, right?
yes.
So I think a lot of people feel like I can't find my stuff. I don't even know what to. That's the other part we need to talk to people about. So there's that. Um, Talk to us a little bit about the PayPal, Venmo, all of them. What do you think about them? And to your point, they're not secure. Are they secure when stuff goes down and your money is missing?
So here's what we need to focus on. Are these accounts, I'm using air quotes for a reason,
Mhm.
are they linked to a checking account? If the if the answer is no, then they are not secure. Okay? If the answer is yes, but you leave the funds in the account, right? There's a lot of people
Mhm.
who leave funds in their Cash App account, who leave funds in their PayPal account. It is not insured while it's in that account. It is only insured once you transfer it over to your connected or linked checking account or savings account. That is when it becomes insured. You need to understand these places are not banks. Cash App is not a bank.
Right.
PayPal is not a bank. These
Hmm.
places are not banks, right? They have to be backed by another bank, right? So I'll use Apple Pay for an example. Apple Pay has Apple Cash, and they are backed by Green Dot Bank. And Green Dot is the place we've heard a lot about. They have those little cards for teenagers,
Mm-hmm.
right? So if you have money in Apple Cash, it is safe because it is actually in Green Dot Bank. But there's extra steps that you went through to sign up for that to let you know this is this is insured, right? And so think to yourself, if I lose my password to this app, if I can't get into
Mm-hmm.
this app, if this app system is down, will I have access to my money? Do I have alternatives? That's what we need to
Mm-hmm.
make sure that we can say yes to those questions.
Wow, this is Laura says they're instituting a charge of $45 at the airport. If you don't have a real ID, you might as well get it, especially if you're renewing. But here's the thing: if you have a passport that already works for you do not need to put yourself through that. So that $45 charge is for the people who don't have the real ID and don't have a passport to travel. I want folks to be very clear so they don't feel like they have to go through all these hoops. Uh, there you go. Yes. Michelle says if you want to travel, domestically in the USA, you can get a passport and passport ID to fly. There you go. Um, okay, so what else would you
I'm
like us
with
to
you,
know?
Viola, because you know what? This was a situation I had with my niece this week. I told you two things happened this week about,
Mhm.
unbanked to underbanked. SEPTA now takes Apple Pay, right? And so I'm saying to my nieces, hey, you need to make sure there's money in your bank account. I took her earlier this year to get a bank account. Oh, I can just use my Apple Pay. What if your battery's dead on your phone? What if Apple Pay is not working? Are you
Mhm.
trusting that a stranger is going to pay for you to get on the bus
Right.
to get home? Are you
Hmm.
trusting
Hmm.
that the SEPTA man is going to let you?
Hmm.
There's too many, for us to have trust issues, we're putting a lot of trust in these places that we cannot contact, we cannot walk in, but there's too many glitches and things happening. And so yes, with our young people, it is easier for them to get used to just using Cash App, using their Cash App card or whatever it may be. No, we need to really push them to make sure that they have actual bank accounts. We need backup
Hmm.
for all these things.
Yeah, Marguerite says Cash App used to transfer your money automatically to your bank. Now you have to manually do it. Cash App is now my least favorite method of getting money. Mine too. I just stopped using my Cash App altogether. I'm like, yo, we're not doing. I'm not doing this. And they take so much of PayPal. They take a certain percentage, right? If you want to pay somebody, if you're paying somebody via Cash App or PayPal, assume that they're taking out 1% and add that little bit more because people are actually losing money using these apps. It's crazy.
And no one's
Absolutely
doing the
crazy.
math. No one's doing the math. You're not sitting there doing the math. Is this exactly 2% between
Yes.
what such and such gave me and what landed in my bank? They know
They're
that
just
no
giving you
one's
what the
doing that
cost is
math.
and not realizing that you're actually losing money. If someone sends me $50 on PayPal, I get $47. Crazy. It's like highway robbery. They're taking $3 of your coins, right? For what? It makes no sense. So yeah, Venmo doesn't take a fee, Apple Pay doesn't take a fee, and so I try to tell people go there. Just try not to, because it's a lot. It's a lot. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we get off today and tell people how they can find you?
I just want to say that we all know someone who fit in these two categories, right? We need to, again, my thing has always been let's have wealthy conversations, which is, healthy conversations about money that we're not being judgmental. So this is the time to ask those questions because if you have a family member, if you find out over Christmas that one of your family members does not have a bank account or a young person in your family, let's start the new year off with making sure all of our people have valid bank accounts, have valid IDs, and whatever paperwork that it is that they
Mhm.
need. And so I think that this is the time for us to come together. I know I said that last time, but this is really, really important when it comes to building generational wealth. The banking system is a big part of that. So we want to make sure that we are in that we're not missing out. Um, oh, Zelle linked to bank accounts is, but that
Mhm.
is true. That is true
Mhm.
because they are directly going straight into and coming out of your
The
account.
banks got
Um,
smart. The banks all of a
yeah,
sudden said you can link to us. Zelle they went in partnership with Zelle and said you can link to us. Your money is safe. And
yeah.
so Venmo is doing the same thing. Your Venmo can be linked to your bank accounts. Should be linked to your bank accounts, right? So you can just it goes in there. Um,
Yeah,
how
I
can
just found
people?
out recently that you can drive and get paid from Uber without having a bank account. I did not know that you could have a prepaid card and Uber will put your money that you're after you're driving into a prepaid card. I'm like, are you guys kidding me? I didn't have that was new to me.
That's news to me too. That's
I didn't know
absolute
that.
news to me too. So I really want us, I think if you are hearing this conversation, I want us to not be judgmental. Don't say, but after all, my children got this and my dad got that. That's nice. But if someone finds the courage to say to you, you know what, I don't have a bank account. Don't turn up your nose. Don't twinkle your eyes. Just say, how can I support you? Right? That's where we have to get to now so that folks will be okay. Hey,
Hey,
Andrea.
Andrea.
She said, thank you for this millionaire moment. How can people
Yes.
find you, my sister?
You can find me at www.rachelhannibal.com for sessions, one-on-ones, group classes, anything from ages 3 all the way up to 100. And you can find me on Pep Talks _ if you're on Instagram, and Rachel Hannibal on LinkedIn and Facebook. And we have millionaire moments together online all the time. So come hang
Yeah.
out with me.
I'm so grateful that we are you considered coming back here to have the conversation with us monthly because it's absolutely necessary. And with the way things are going now, and budgeting, and you're having more month end money, and next month I'd like for you to talk about simple ways we can save money, simple ways we can cut costs. I asked my husband yesterday. I called him and I said, listen, on your way home, can you pick up a pack of chicken thighs for me? And he said, skin or skinless or with the skin on it. I said, well, that depends on the price. He laughed. I said, listen, if I got to just pull the skin off and pay $5-6 less, then that's what I'm going to do. I came home last night. Oh, there was a package of chicken with the skin on it. With the skin on it. And it's just because every penny adds up. Every penny adds up. So, those are some of the things that we can do. Um,
And
uh,
nothing is free. If they doing it for you, then they
yes,
charging you. I'll take the skin off for you. I'm gonna
absolutely.
charge you for that.
Absolutely, for the convenience. But I can just sit there while I'm cleaning the kitchen, the chicken with the vinegar and the lemon juice. I'm peeling the skin and getting all that slime off of it any old way, right?
Yep.
My husband wants your information for his school. He wants you to speak to his college students, and he's been
I'd love
asking me
to.
for a month. Girl, I'm outing myself. I know, Rachel.
I'd love to. I'm there. I'm ready.
Whew. And I think he said you can do it online or whatever you choose. But he really, every time he hears you, he wants to introduce you to his students, his college students.
Oh, I
Forgive
love
me,
that.
husband. See, I told
Let
about
me know
before.
what you need from me. I'll send it over to you.
All right, okay. You have my contact information.
Some.
Okay, get inbox me and I'll send it all to you.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
All
All
right.
right.
All right.
Thank
Take
you.
care, my sister.
See ya.
All right. Bye bye. Bye bye. Monica says, please get rid of those fees. It's like throwing cash out the window. But folks, see, Monica, when they don't have other options, when they don't feel like they have any other options, then it's easy for them to pay those $3 fees and $4 fees and $5 fees, which is why I just gave up on Cash App altogether. I'm like, PayPal is next. I can't, right? Find the things that are linked to your bank accounts that will go straight into your bank accounts and you'll be fine. Good morning. Good morning, Cheryl. I see you. I see you. Viola says she has 3 credit unions. Uh, oh, Carlene says Cash App forces you to switch to a business account versus the personal one when doing, you know what? See all that. This is why. Don't ask me for my Cash App. It's gone. I left it alone. Went off into the sky somewhere. Cannot do it. I do want to, before Cherie comes on at 7 o'clock, cover a little bit of news that I think no one is talking about. Um, Jesus Christ, there's so much going on. The British Broadcasting Corporation wrote this article at 31 minutes ago. Kayla Epstein and Lone Wells. The United States forces have seized an oil tanker off the coast of Venezuela. President Donald Trump says, making a sharp escalation in Washington's pressure campaign against Nicolas Maduro's government. We have just seized a tanker on the coast of Venezuela, a large tanker, very large, largest one. Oh, releasing a video of the seizure, Attorney General Pam Bondi described the vessel as a crude oil tanker used to transport sanctioned oil from Venezuela and Iran. Caracas swiftly denounced the action, calling it an act of international piracy. Earlier, President Maduro declared that Venezuela would never become an oil colony. The Trump administration accuses Venezuela of funneling narcotics into the U.S. and has intensified its efforts to isolate President Maduro in recent months. Something is coming. They are not stopping, and every time they do something else, to test to see what they can get away with, it's a lot, right? Aircraft, fighter jets were flying over Venezuela in their airspace for over 40 minutes a couple of days ago. The folks in the Caribbean are on high alert. Something is happening. And while that is going on there, we're being sent over here and there. Oh, let's talk about this and let's talk about that. And we're going to take away holidays and we're going to take away the cost, the fees, the opening. And we're focusing on the things that continues to raise our blood pressures over stuff that we can't really do anything about. Meanwhile, we're getting ready to engage in war in another country. So, and it's ostensibly over narcotics, and the folks who are not reading, the folks who don't understand what's going on, the folks who believe everything they see believes that all the narcotics are coming from Venezuela. And Katisha says the country with the largest oil reserve is Venezuela, right? And Alexandra says they're talking about it in mainstream media. He said Somalians were the pirates. It's a lot going on. There's a lot. Somalians are being attacked, in Minnesota. Just the Latino. There is so much happening at one time that I'm asking you all, pay attention to what they're not really covering. Pay attention to what is not being talked about. And I'm grateful that mainstream media is now truly focusing on this, because I think come early next year, if not before, because we're going to wake up one morning and hear Venezuela was, attacked. So something is going on, and there are fighter jets in Puerto Rico right now, which is not far from Venezuela, right? Just sitting in a base right now that they hadn't seen in a long time. The fighter jets are just sitting there. So while we are doing the Utah joy of great things and great whatever else, please pay attention to what's going on. Things are shifting at an alarming rate. It was the same thing with what was going on in Iraq. They killed Saddam Hussein, say that he was about this, and this. And there was so much that they took from that country. It's part of the reason. I was talking to some friends of mine yesterday at an event, and they were like, we as Americans are not welcome in many places simply because of all of this that's taking place. Right? Folks are losing their lives, their agencies, their countries are being invaded, blah, 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 for whatever the reason that is being given in the moment, but it impacts us and our travel. So we have to be very careful, and that's all I'm going to say about that. Cherie should be signing in a couple of minutes. Monica says this ninja is strategically trying to start a war in Venezuela. Laura says, when we were having our oil crisis some years ago, Venezuela offered to help us because they had the oil. Alexandra says, Katisha, have you noticed since the death of Chavez, you no longer see Citgo gas stations? They are Venezuela owned. Wow. Whew, it's a lot going on. It's a lot going on out here. So pay attention, y'all. Pay attention. It's insane. People are talking to me. And then, so let's see. Let's see what's happening here. Hold on. I'm just looking here. I'm just covering the woman who, the opposition leader in Venezuela, is in Norway getting her Nobel Peace Prize. Jesus. Oh my God. U.S. jets tracked circling Gulf of Venezuela as tensions mount. That's 23 hours ago. I'm not sure we're going to make it past the holidays without this being a thing. 2 U.S. fighter jets, BBC wrote this again, Matt Murphy. for BBC. Two U.S. fighter jets were tracked circling the Gulf of Venezuela on Tuesday, that was 2 days ago, as tensions continue to escalate between the two countries. The FA-18 Super Hornets appeared on flight tracking sites near Maracaibo, Venezuela's second largest city, before circling the Gulf for about 40 minutes. I just discussed that. A U.S. defense official told the Associated Press the jets had conducted a routine training flight in the area. Wow. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro has accused the U.S. of using the strikes to destabilize the country and oust him from power. In an interview conducted with Politico the day before the jets approached Venezuela's coastline, Trump declared that Maduro's days in power were numbered and declined to comment on whether U.S. troops could be deployed to the country. So how do you go in and take over a whole country under the guise that it's drugs, narcotics? We're having brain rot in this country. Seriously. I had to write a report the other day. And usually when I write my reports, I will put everything from the report, usually 8 to 10 pages. I'll put it in Chat GPT just to clean it up, wording, that kind of stuff. The other day, I went in to write the report and I said, you know what? I need to use my brain fully, use my brain fully. And I wrote that report. And my brain felt like it was humming. These conveniences, while they make life a whole lot easier, really takes us to a place of brain rot because we can't think, we can't focus on what we should be able to do. And quite frankly, so many of you misunderstand how Chat GPT should be used. You can tell you use Chat GPT to write the stuff because you put none of your own words in it. It's just write a thing on this, and this, and you're not even looking for the corrections and the errors, not realizing that they're not always 100% correct, and you just send it out to people, and folks are reading this going, Chat GPT wrote this. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. Crazy. So, Alexandra says, oh Lord, you all are talking. Thank you, Cheryl. Oh, she sent her daughter to receive her award. I wonder why. Alexandra says, a war would, in his mind, stop elections from happening. Oh, thank you, y'all. Thank you. I'm wearing a cabo. Yes. Alexandra says her or her daughter. She is the reason why he's doing all of this in Venezuela. She's a Trump supporter. I'm not really sure. I do believe it's more about the oil than anything else. Dennis says he wants Venezuela like Putin wanted Ukraine. Sad. Monica says it's all about the oil, and precious mineral rights always follow the power and the money. Alexandra says under the Monroe Doctrine, like Reagan did with the Falkland War. All right, let me see. I'm still looking for Cherie. Is it 703? Let me find her. Hold on 1 second. Oh, my Lord, on today. Hold on, y'all. Whew. Too much. I'm going to look up the Monroe Doctrine, and we can. Hopefully I don't. So we can talk a little bit about it, right? When we talk about these things, I want to make sure the Monroe Doctrine is a United States foreign policy position that opposes European colonialism in the Western Hemisphere. It holds that any intervention, let me just hold on. It holds that, Jesus, leave us alone. It holds that any intervention in the political affairs of the Americas by foreign powers is potentially hostile act against the United States, and the doctrine is central to American grand strategy in the 20th century. So this is what they're using. Wow. All right. Okay. This is crazy. Alexandra says, sweet black baby Jesus. Delco Council voted 4-1 to raise property taxes. Ah, and she says, Mother, if that woman is put in power, he can do what he wants. It's crazy as hell. We're just going through all kinds of crazy stuff in here. Let's see. There she is. Good
Hello.
morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm well. Getting back acclimated to this life in the USA. Sorry. Yeah. I
In
was in
these Wakandan
paradise.
streets.
I was in paradise for a while. Now I'm back to reality.
Yeah.
Paying
Unfortunately,
taxes, paying payroll.
unfortunately, we can't stay in paradise forever. If we could, then we all would,
That is
right?
my goal. That is my goal.
Cherie, I don't even know what we're talking about today, honestly, because life is just life in.
You don't have anything that you're trying to throw my way? No.
You know,
But
we
good
talked
morning.
about isolation of men last week.
Yes. Yes, we did.
We let's talk about when a spouse or a partner gets ill. Go ahead. Go
But
ahead.
let me say this. So Tracy was on the trip with me last week, and it was a part of a bigger trip. A woman that I listened to on a podcast. She takes groups over. She lives on the continent. She's been in Ghana. She's been in Cape Town, and so she kind of you get to live like her life because I want to get the interworkings of how things work because I ultimately want to live in on the continent. And one of the things that Tracy said, because I was like, thank you so much, babe, for, just kind of being, he was a trooper, in all of it. And so he said, but the beauty of this was that I got like a first front row seat at how women engage, travel together, do these things together in a very different way. He said, I've got to get my boys together. We got to go and travel the world and see some things. And it was just really, he said it a few times while we were on the trip. And it was just really a nice observation that he made. And I mean, we've been on couples trips, so with my other girlfriends and their husbands and stuff like that. But yeah, so in line with kind of some of the stuff we were talking about last week, I do believe that men engage with each other, and I do believe that men do travel with each other at times. I know there's a lot of stigma attached to some men's travel, but
What's the stigma?
there's a lot of stigma around men going to countries like Brazil and Thailand and things like that, and kind of like participating in the black market of sex. I mean, I don't know how true or not true, but definitely that is something that's out there. And so it was nice. And I know men that are in fraternities and they go to their conclaves. And so I do know that men do travel, but girls trip is definitely a thing. And it's a thing because girls travel. And so that is not as common in my experience of men. So I'm hoping that he's able to lead charge. He's got this group together. So I'm hoping he's able to lead a charge and they start to do that because it'd be nice.
And it would be wonderful to hear when they're traveling what they're talking about. What are the things that matter the most to them? Because this is really a thing amongst our men. It's really, really interesting. I don't know what it's going to take. But last week when we were talking, we talked about how we are usually their best friends. And when and we have a bunch of women we can talk to about all kinds of different things. Yesterday, I got invited to my friend Lorraine Ballard Morrow. Some weeks ago was like, she had gotten this thing from Saks Fifth Avenue to get a full makeover at Chanel in the Chanel department. And so it was five of us went. We had an amazing time. We were drinking champagne and talking to one another and asking each other how was our lives going. And I just sat there and looked around me and go, I wonder if men actually are doing this at any point. Right? It was such a good experience, I had to go in there and show my behind. I was like, listen, do you have products for black skin?
I'm sure they do though, right?
They do now. Yeah, they do. The lady said, we
everyone
do. We got it together. I think after Rihanna came out with her line, they were like, oh, we're missing a whole bunch of money.
I mean, not only that, yeah, because the last girl that did my makeup for the African American Museum, she used a girl's product that was black. Oh my goodness, it was beautiful. It just was beautiful. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Whose
Hmm.
product was it?
I can't remember her name. I'll get her. I'll get the
Yeah.
name. I'll tell you next week, or I'll
Yeah,
text it to
because I'm
you. Yeah.
always trying to promote the things that we make because we understand our pigmentation. We
Correct.
understand our skin tone in ways that I just get, yeah, it is
Yeah.
what it is. Anyway,
Yeah.
my darling, so a lot of folks are getting sick. A lot of folks are having issues with parents getting sick. We're that in between sandwich generation. What does that look like in our families? Let's say both you and Tracy, both your parents are gone, correct?
We have lost both of our parents. Yes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
So
now,
we are not sandwiches in that way. And
right.
I've said it before. I'm happy that we're not. I mean, I really am, because that could be burdensome and it could be stressful.
Mhm.
And the way our lives are set up, it would just add an additional burden, or an additional burden slash stress to us, that I'm thankful to my parents that that is not what our experience has to be. It could have been a little bit different with his parents because we are here east, but
Mhm.
my parents, I would have been needing to fly back and forth, and that would have been challenging for sure. So
Mhm.
I'm just always so thankful to them. It was a
Yeah.
young lady on the trip, and her mom's in care, and something had happened, and she kind of had to stay behind one day because all this stuff was happening with her mom. And another girl and I talked because her mother also died suddenly, and we just kind of talked about that. She also was an only child, and she was like, I was kind of setting my whole life up to care for my mother,
Mhm.
and then she has a 10-year-old son. And she said, and I hate to say it, but I'm so happy that I don't have to do that. I said, girl, you are, I mean, I think sometimes people feel they can't speak truth.
Because of
What
judgment, for fear of judgment, right?
For fear of judgment. Absolutely.
Mhm.
When I said it, somebody tried to judge me. so, so, and I have no, my
Mhm.
mom was amazing, and I am who I am because of her. She was like the best gangan to my kids. I grieve every time my children have another child, and she's not here to experience or witness that.
Mhm.
But I
Mhm.
thank God so much that I'm not going back and forth to California.
Mhm.
I am so appreciative. Like I am. And I don't feel anything about that.
Yeah. There are so many people who have parents who have long-term diagnoses and illnesses like Alzheimer's, and there's a debate now about when we put our parents in homes in long-term care facilities that they end up dying faster because they're not,
Mm.
yeah, they're not in the home with you, da 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 da. And people are also saying, well, you know I, I have too much going on in my family. I can't take care of my mother right now. What would be your wish as you age? Because guess what? As cute as we are, we're aging.
We are aging. I know. And Tracy and I are starting to kind of try to talk about that a little bit. I mean, we're, planning on trying to live on the continent. We have children, which is great. And I do think that they would take care of us to some extent, but we've, made some provisions to
Mhm.
be able to have long-term care and things like that. So I'm constantly, making sure that I know, what is out there and what is available. Um, and then talking with our financial planner about
Mhm.
just being able to position ourselves where we can take care of ourselves, because now my children live in California and they have children, so unless they move here, they would have a very similar experience that I was dreading with my mother. And it may be hard for them to move back and forth because of the children.
Mhm.
And obviously we have family here, but I tell Tracy all the time, I know they like me because of you, but if it was me and you, if they got to choose, they're going your way, So, there is some vulnerability that I feel,
Mhm.
being here. And so if I were ill and he was not, he would take care of me, and they would support him. But
Mhm.
honey, if we was ill at the same time and they had to choose a bed, I think they're choosing his.
But well, at least you know. How about that?
Hey, yay.
At least you know. Marguerite says it was said by someone, and then I have a topic. I think it was Laverne that gave us a topic. We're going to talk about it in a second. Marguerite says it was said by someone that traveled with me this week that the man we met who were traveling together were judged to be homosexual. Why do we do that?
Yeah,
Why
I mean,
can't men
that's
have the
another.
same?
Yeah, that's another one. Whereas women, it's the girls' trip. Women are never judged in that way. So yeah, so that's what I'm saying. All the stigmas, they're just all out there,
Yeah, yeah,
which is
uh,
unfortunate. Brothers can't even just go and have a boys' trip
yeah, and it's
without it having a
necessary.
negative connotation. It is negative. It is necessary. It's very necessary.
Um, Laverne says, I cared for my grandmother. Husband stepped in. Hold on, wait. Husband stepped in to help where he could. He was a trooper. My grandmom didn't like him in the beginning. She learned to love him. And Rachel says, we need to start saving and investing for long term care ourselves and our loved ones as soon as possible.
Yes, yes, that is very
Child. My
true.
prayer is that I go to sleep and not wake up.
I,
I do
I keep
not
telling
want to be in
Tracy,
a home.
I want to die like they did on the Notebook, just
Listen, girl,
together.
just go to sleep and all right,
Yeah.
baby. We checking out. We checking out. Let's go.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Marguerite says, people judged me when I said my parents and husband's transition was a blessing. I love them dearly, yet I lost myself. Yeah.
Trying to care for people. A lot of times the person who's the caretaker needs respite, and we don't get it all the time, respite, and they don't get it all the time. It's tough. Hey, it's tough.
Yeah.
It is
But it's a
tough.
conversation we really do need to have. There's a sister that now she's living in Philadelphia. Her father died. Her mother's still living with her in dementia. And she comes on and she talks about how difficult it is. How she walks into the living room and feces, they come out of their stuff and feces are everywhere. They're not sleeping. They're roaming the house. They're peeing on her furniture. And she says, I just want you all to see that this is not glamorous, right? And I would look at her post and go, oh my God. Oh my
Mm,
God.
mm.
And then when my mother was in her 6 week transition to checking up out of here, I didn't go through any of that, but the 24-hour care of making sure that she was okay, that make sure that people took care of her, that make sure, and she went from the hospital, they wanted to put her in a long-term care. She looked at me when everybody went, because it was my night to spend the night with her. She looked at me, she says, I'm not doing that, right? Take me home so I can die. I was like, Mommy, she said, take me home so I can die. I'm not going into a long-term care facility.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what she did,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we have to not judge folks because we don't understand what long-term care is like. Now, there are those of us who understands what it is, and we are committed to doing what needs to be done. But just the other day, my sister behind me said to Daddy, look here, when I go through this again, do what the doctor tells you to do because you're not going to put us through hell. I roared. My other sister said, oh, you were just so subtle. She said, I can't. She was literally in the space where she said, I cannot go through this again. And if you know there are preventative ways for you to take care of yourself and you don't want to do it, then I don't want to hear it. I was like, now you know you're going to be the first one to run when he calls and says he's in the hospital. She said, I'm not doing it. But
Yeah.
it's hard, her husband has a medical practice. She's a nurse. She manages his office, and they had to keep flying back and forth. It was me and my youngest sister who would spend we gave up work. Our husbands were probably wondering where the hell we were, right? Because for 4 solid weeks, for a whole month, we were not home, trying to make sure mommy was okay. And she said, I lose money every time. And we were looking at her like, wait, what? She said, I lose money every time I have to fly in. She said, you don't understand we have to close down the practice. Right. And so folks don't want to have the conversations around what it can look like when when a parent is aging and you got to come make sure they're okay.
Yeah, and I think, and for me, at that point where you're that kind of caretaker, the person you're caring for is no longer living; they're existing, and it's just a matter of time before they transition. Usually, right? And so at that point, for me, I'm just happy the finish line came quick, and so
Hey, that's all I'm saying.
I'll leave it at
That's all I'm
that.
saying. I was talking to an undertaker, someone who had just started a funeral home. I got to tell you all about Dr. Archima and her new spot too. Lord, so much going on. And she said, Andrea, I just started my own funeral home and I've gone through all the process and blah 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 blah. And I said, did I tell you how I want to check up out of here? She roared. She said, all right, Andrea, if we get it, then we know what to do. I do not want to be buried in the ground. Please don't do that to me. Okay. And not on this soil. Laverne says my grandma said the same thing. She wanted to go home and she didn't want to be resuscitated. Cheryl says I took care of my husband's great uncle, sister, my mom, and daughter who's still here. Monica said, "Child, I wish my husband would go to the church."
I bet. Monica, that's so funny. Right. That's what I'm on.
Monica was like, look. It's so funny. Laverne says, I feel that I cried every night after caring for my grandma, not caring for my grandfather. I miss her dearly, but I hated her last days as much as, oh my God, this is a lot, right?
Yeah.
Dementia is the absolute worst affliction to care for. I'm still recovering. Marguerite says, wow.
Yeah, it
There's a
is.
lot going on.
It's
I'm
not easy.
glad.
It's not
Yeah.
easy. And I think we need bigger spaces for people just to be honest. You can love your parents. You can honor your parents. You can feel all of the niceties that they've given you life and all the things and still be challenged with caring for them at the end of their lives. It's not easy. It's not easy on so many different levels. And, you know, if someone is enjoying it, hey, they're a special person. Shout out.
Yeah.
Hoorah.
Yeah.
But most people
Hoorah,
don't.
yeah.
And even when you have a young child, I have a niece who has a daughter and she struggled in the beginning and she just was like, Auntie, this is hard and I don't like it. And I said, and that's okay. That's okay. Like, we are conditioned to pretend like all these
All this
moments
well.
are perfect or great, or, you know, this baby is a blessing, or whatever. I'm blessed to have my parents this long, or whatever the thing is, to where we can't just be authentic. It's not that I hate my child. It's not that I hate being a parent, but right now it's hard. And I should have the freedom to be able to have that, to say that, period, without feeling guilty or any of those things.
Well, this is the space to do all of that because I listen.
Hey.
Let me see. Everybody's talking now. Monica says, Mommy lived with hubby and I for 5 years until her passing a year ago. She had dementia and it was so hard, but I wouldn't have changed it for the world. She was my road dog. Marguerite says, my son, who was an only, asked me whether I expected him to take care of me like I took care of my mother. Ooh, these young people, they're bold. They're like, look, I don't know if I can do this.
Let me get this together.
Jasenia says it's hard to take care of an older parent. Respite and self-care are extremely important. An outlet is golden. Donette says being a caregiver is so hard. People want to judge every decision made and don't even care to offer support.
Yeah, that's the other thing. That is another thing. Yeah, I mean, you know, like Monica said, and be clear. If I would have had to take care of my mother, it would have gotten done. I would have absolutely. But I would be remiss to say I am appreciative that that period, that season didn't last long. So I thank God for that. I really do. He chose to say both of your parents will leave quickly and swiftly. And but what it does teach me is that I say what I have to say to people. But I love them. I resolve things. I don't let things linger. I don't do the not talking. Like, because and that's where Tracy and I differ a little bit, because he is an introvert, so it's easy for him in certain times to just be like, I'm not talking. But I'm like, I'll give you a couple hours. We got to come talk, you know, because you can walk out and get hit by a car. And I've lost my parents swiftly and unexpectedly. So I believe that.
Yeah. Winetta says, Katisha says, we are preparing documents, will, power of attorney for medical, banking, property. Man, Katisha, we had to fight our father so hard for that. I was like, look at here. I'm just going to let the government come take all your ish. I don't care. I don't need your stuff. Don't want your stuff. And he finally got himself together. But that was hard, right? Marguerite? Winetta says, I have taken care of memory loss patients for over 30 years, and it's not a pretty thing to watch your loved one slowly drift away from you, man.
It's not. It's tough. It's tough.
Laverne says, yes, Marguerite. My grandfather's a Capricorn, so his dementia, he's very quiet. I talk to him, but his peace in the dementia makes me so grateful and humble at the same time. So here's the thing. They say when you're younger, if you're a dementia patient, when you're younger, if you're outspoken like I am, like you are, when you develop dementia, you get real quiet. If you're real quiet younger, when you get dementia, at an older age, you're a hell raise. All the shit you've been holding on in your brain. You're like, I don't want that.
Or I'm gonna say it and I'm gonna hide behind this dementia.
Yes. Laura says, does anyone know what people with dementia actually die from? Is it the deterioration of the body? It's the brain. Deterioration of the brain. The brain, and then they can't swallow, they can't chew. So all of that, remember, our body is all interconnected. Your big toe is connected to your heart. And people tend to think that our body parts are different parts of who we are. I never understood that, but we're gonna be all right, right? Monica says, please don't get me wrong. I love and miss my mother. She says, but it's a relief to live again. Yes.
No, Monica, and I was just saying that if I had to do that, I too would have had to do it, and it would have been, and I wouldn't have changed it, right? I mean, I wouldn't have changed it. I feel fortunate that that wasn't my, my experience. That wasn't my journey. It would have been a tough one. It would have been a very tough one.
Yeah. And Marguerite says, and stop telling people your parents cared for you, so you should be delighted to care for them. Blasphemy. No, Marguerite, that one might get you in trouble.
Well, it is a little easier change. I'm assuming, because I never had to change adult diapers, but I'm assuming it's a little easier to change a baby's diaper than it is
to change another. It is.
So I will.
Yeah. Because we had to clean my mother and change her and all of that stuff. Yo, it was not easy. And she said one night in the hospital, "You're being too rough." And then, mommy, we're being gentle. She said, "You bitches." I was like, I turned to Kia and my sister April. I was like, did she say what? We all looked. It was like 3:00 in the morning. We all looked at each other. Was like, yep, she said it. It was so funny.
I mean, because it can strain marriages. I'm sure people have had strained marriages, and just different things. It's not easy. It's not easy. We were very fortunate when Tracy's mom, transitioned and she had to go in a hospice. Her sister took her in, and we didn't do like formal shifts, but we kind of did shifts, and that was helpful. There's a lot of people that he's related to here, and so that was helpful. Again, that would not have been the exact same way for me. My friends, my kids, everybody would have jumped in and done what they needed to do with my mom, but I would have still needed to come back and forth to take care of her business. So yeah, everyone's going to have a different experience, and everyone's going to have a different thought about it. I believe I want to always give people the right to just be honest with how they feel. I think far too often we collectively walk around, there's a facade around certain things, and I want people the ability to unveil themselves and say, hey, that was hard and I didn't like it, and I'm glad that they're gone, and not in a bad way, but just in a way I'm glad they have transitioned, because they were no longer living life.
Yeah, absolutely. And so there's that. I'm gonna switch gears, because we're now at 7:30, and Laverne brought up a topic that I believe needs to be discussed. She said, what happens when your in-laws interfere in your marriage, and the husband or the wife of those parents, the child of the parents, the husband or the wife, allows it to happen and say, that's my mama, that's my father, I can't do anything about it. So
I didn't really have that experience, so I couldn't. In my first marriage, which was my pancake marriage, you throw that first one out. His mother had a lot of opinions and and stuff like that. But I was young, and we were young, and it wasn't going to last, so it wasn't like she was the deal breaker. I think when Tracy and I first got married, Tracy had been married to his ex-wife for so long that my mother-in-law, they had a relationship. And I think it just took a minute to kind of figure out, how do I, still have a relationship over here, and then Tracy's happy and bringing this new person into our life over here. But the beauty of that for me was that Tracy was just very much like, this is my wife. This is going to be my wife. So basically,
Yeah.
you can get in line or
Yeah.
not, but she's
Yeah.
going to be here. And to me, I think that it requires your spouse to be supportive. And I look at Todd and Candy Burris are divorcing,
Oh Lord.
and
Can we
I really,
discuss?
I really look at how her mom treated them almost from the beginning. Regardless of what she thought of Todd, she just was purely disrespectful. And I always took issue that Candy never really stood up for him to her. That was a problem for me. Just to witness that. I mean, obviously they're editing and cutting, and I don't know, but it just never really felt like she just was like, "Mom, you are crossing the line. You've crossed boundaries. This is my husband, and you
She
need to respect
never
him."
respected him at
It's like,
all. And
yeah.
look, she may have had her reasons for doing so, but the way she was disrespectful of him,
Hmm.
and now she had the word on the street is that she's telling him he needs to get out of her daughter's house. Like, why are you in the middle of it, ma'am? Why?
Yeah.
Why are you in the
So
middle of
to
it?
me, yeah. So to me,
Right?
I'm glad that I didn't have to have, I don't have those type of in-laws.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
because it would be challenging. But in my opinion, in those, if that is your situation, your spouse should be the backbone. Your
That
spouse
part.
should not let
That part.
anyone.
That
My
part.
sister-in-law, she tries to be messy sometimes and tries to be like, look at here. Let me
Yeah.
let you know.
Yeah.
And you can't come to our house. Anybody who you don't like my wife, you can't come to our house. Like, it is
Yeah.
real serious, real ground rules. Now we'll go
Yeah.
out and we'll be cordial and all that stuff, but it doesn't come to our doorstep.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say
Hmm.
to my husband, if they're going to come in here and be disrespectful, they need to stay at the door. They don't need to come to the door. But my husband stood up for me. It was not my mother-in-law and father-in-law. They were completely 100% in. Even when I don't speak to them often because I've got all this other stuff going on, they pray for us, pray for me all the time. I mean, thank God. And if it were not for my mother-in-law and father-in-law, that first year of our marriage was so rocky because other people had opinions, right? There was
Hmm.
assumptions about my age, assumptions about what I could do, what I was doing for a living. That's all these assumptions. And my husband finally started he went and started visiting people and saying things like, this is my wife. This is who I chose. You don't need to know what she does. Now they're figuring out all the things that I had been doing, but I was quiet intentionally, right? And if
It
you
doesn't matter. You could
right,
have not
right.
done
It,
anything. If
he
Mr.
says
chose you and he chose to cover and care for you, it doesn't matter what you're doing.
right, but no, they wanted to know. They felt that they needed to have a right to know that my husband was paying for my children's college. I think my ex-husband probably was turning over, going, "Wait, what?" Paying for the
And
college.
again,
All these
it doesn't
assumptions were being
matter.
made that I was running the marriage. I was the one in charge. All sorts of ish. And he said, if you cannot be respectful of her, you're not welcome here. So everybody
Yeah.
got themselves together after a minute, right? And if you know my husband, as boisterous as I am, when he tells me, Andrea, all he has to do is say my name a certain way. I'm like, ooh, I done crossed a line. Not sure what the line is.
Yeah.
And I just, whoop, right? Because I respect him completely, fully and completely. So when I am
Hmm.
wrong, even though I may pout and da 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 da, I love and respect him in a way that's I'm going to switch and figure out what the hell that I did and then figure it out, right? Alexandra says, my aunt is that disrespectful mother-in-law. She flew in my cousin's ex when my cousin and her husband were separated at the time of their marriage. They are still married, thank God. Yeah, like why do you feel like you have to be that in? Why do you feel like you have to interfere in people's marriages that way?
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. That would not be the
And
case.
the karma that comes back, because usually when people are doing that, though, is because something's going on in their own lives,
Oh,
right?
absolutely. 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 Yeah. Something
Crazy.
usually is going on in their own lives.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
if
None
and
of
if someone shares with you what they're going through with their spouse and they're not in a great space with their spouse, you are to keep your clucking tongues to yourself. You are to listen, empathize, and give no damn advice. Because if people are choosing to stay where they are and you don't share what they shared with you with other people, we've got to grow up. We've got to grow up, right? Um, oh, Winetta says I was labeled a gold digger, but I came with my hands out giving. Ain't that something? Ain't that something? Part of my biggest issue is my age. because people think I'm much younger. My son called just, he's like, Mommy, how old are you? I told him, he was like, wait, what? It was so I said, but I've told you. He said, no, when we asked you as children, you said you never ask a woman her age. He had no idea how old I was. He said,
Uh-huh.
you're out here slinging all these weights and doing all this stuff. You look good. He thinks I'm going to live forever. I keep trying to remind him that's not going to happen. But
Right.
people
Yeah.
assumed that I was way younger. I was way younger than I looked, and they made decisions and assumptions based on that. Right. So I was like, Lord have mercy. Y'all leave me the hell alone. Leave me the hell alone. Let me live my life and live it in peace. And me and Mister, we go do our things and we talk through, Laverne says my cousin experienced this and ended up divorced. No respect for leave and cleave. Yeah, my husband left and cleft. And he was not playing either.
Yeah, no, we're not playing. We are not
Right.
playing. That's what we're doing
Right.
here.
Because he says, and I agree, this is the happiest he had ever been in his life, isn't in his end, other than his children. We laugh, we talk, I remember putting up a post saying that I wanted a puppy, and he said, why? You got an old dog. He living with you. He's talking about himself, like the jokes, the humor, when things are bad and we have to go through illness and all those other things, we're there for one another, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we have to be very mindful to stay out of people's marriages. They made the decision to be together as a couple, come hell or high water. It is not your mouth and opinion that's going to matter. And when you judge them and you have conversations about them and tell them these things, then they push you off to the side because they're always going to make up. They have to decide for themselves that this is what they want to do.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah,
End of
no,
story.
that's why you stay out
So,
of. That's why you
what do
stay out of.
you? Yes, my husband says 6 months of minding my own business, 6 months of leaving yours alone.
Yeah.
Right? It's a lot. Let me see what else is going on here. And what happens when it's not the in-law but some other family member, right? What do we do?
Oh, wow. I don't pay them any attention. I'm so oblivious to. I don't come from a place of like chaos and drama and messiness. So I don't even, I just don't even try to entertain it. And so as a result, sometimes people can be shady, and I may or may not pick it up. There's some things that are more obvious,
Mm-hmm.
but there are other times when I'm like, oh, they didn't like me. I didn't even notice that. I just don't give it a lot of my energy.
Child, it's a lot.
But yeah, when I'm like,
Um,
I was like, it's a new sheriff in town. It's somebody new here.
right? Excuse me, I have a dry cough. That's making me nuts this morning. And I gotta travel today, so my masks are
Mm,
out, honey. I was like, let me put my mask on because what y'all
mm.
don't do is scale me out here in these corner streets. Um, the the idea that we're in relationships, because I keep saying marriage, but the idea that we're in relationships and that all is perfect is a misnomer. Do you think that we should be more transparent slash honest about the challenges that we have in our relationships so that people don't think, well, they're always so wonderful. They're always flying all over here. They live in a mansion in the sky. And then years from then you hear, oh my God, such and such was going through such and such. Do we need to be more transparent about the challenges of being in relationship with each other?
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't think it has to be like, oh, I got to tell you why I had an argument with my husband, but I do think that there's a balance of, I mean, I'd probably say 90 to 95% of the time, my marriage is really, really beautiful. And there's going to be 5 to 10% of the time that it's not. And it's, how do we navigate that? How do we make sure, for us, staying connected to our faith and making sure that we have these other examples around us and making sure that we're grounded in a certain sense of, how do we, communicate with each other and, how when things come up, like Tracy and I sometimes will call each other selfish.
Mm-hmm.
And his definition of selfish is not to me what selfish is, but
Mm-hmm.
I think as only children, we tend to get the people give us a bad rap about being selfish. So when we were when we were traveling, we have a big weighted blanket on our bed at home. So every time we go out to a hotel, he gets the blanket, and so he just put it. I said, I said, so the next time so once we kind of came back and we were talking about it, I said, the next time you do something that I deem or define as selfish, I'm going to just point it out. I said, and it's not for discussion or for even argument. It's just, sometimes in real time, we need to know what that other person is feeling, and then how you're defining whatever that adjective you ascribe to. What is that? So he got the blanket out, he folded it in half and put it on him only.
This sounds
So
like something my husband would do.
So I said,
Amen.
hey. I said, hey. So remember when we talked about, we would make sure that we pointed something out in real time so that we wouldn't have to recall it. Because then if you're having difference of opinion, then you're like, and you did this and you did that. So we don't want to do that.
Right.
So I said, so in real time, I said, so we've got this nice king bed, and we both sleep under a weighted blanket at home. But you decided to get the big blanket out of the closet and just put it on yourself. And he didn't even notice it. He didn't even know. He acknowledged. He was like, I didn't even think about, like, he said, I think I thought I put you, but no, because you were selfish, and not in a bad, that's not anything that's malicious and going to hurt me.
Right.
But you can be self-centered and thinking about yourself more often than I think that you do. And I think sometimes for both of us and for people in general, we think because we give of ourselves, so he gives to the community and he gives it, that's not being selfish. But no, when you're in your space with your wife,
don't want to share the blanket.
You're right, you got some selfish ways. And it was good, right? So he was mindful of it and being mindful of it. And I almost say anytime. And like yesterday, he made some cream of wheat or whatever. I don't eat that, so I gave him a pass because I don't eat that. But he made it for himself. It wasn't like he didn't even say, "Do you want some?" Because normally he does make me breakfast, so I will say that. But yeah, so in those moments, that's how we have decided. Before we say you're selfish or you're this or you're that, in the moment we just like, hey, remember I said that? This is what I mean. Yeah. And it works. It works. Yeah.
That's so funny.
I don't think the marriages have to be crazy bad either. I just think that there's a balance. And let me say this, a good portion of our marriage, and I don't know for other people that are married if they feel like this, I feel like that is just my best friend. I live with my friend. It's not always like, because sometimes we are just dealing with some other things and trying to get some stuff done and, trying to make arrangements, trying to get the house ready for the grandkids to come or whatever. And so we're just in lockstep, like that is my friend. And so to me, marriage for me isn't always electric and, but that doesn't mean it's not beautiful, right? It's just,
and that's why people get divorced so quickly, because they think it's supposed to be electric all the time.
Right.
It's not that. I was dropping off soup and cake for people on Tuesday with Denise, and we were talking about just that. She said people are looking for the perfect person, and the young people are like, well, he did this or she did that. She's like, you have got to make the decision that this is going to be your forever person, come hell or high water, and just do what has to happen. And then she brought up son number one, and we sent him a message. The message was, we realize that your wife is your person and she is yours. You don't always get along, but I've heard him say things like, oh my gosh, she's going to be so mad because I better not do that because you'll kill me for the children. Or she'll say, he's not going to like this because he doesn't want to scratch up our wooden floor. So let me make sure I put... I said, and you've figured it out. Despite all the things that you've gone through in such a short period of time, you figured out that you're each other's persons. He was so grateful for that. Right? And I said, maybe we could have done a little bit better as parents, and maybe we couldn't have. It's in sharing some of the things that we went through as children, but our experiences are not necessarily theirs. And so I just wanted them to know we're grateful that you have chosen each other despite the craziness that you've gone through, and that you love one another. And he was like, thank you. Thank you so much. So, Winetta says, yes, that part we don't talk about, the healing journeys we have to go through to get to a loving and peaceful place. Marriages work if you're going to stay in it. And you just have to have 10 toes down. I know it looks crazy right now, but Jesus, remember the woman we interviewed who worked for a major Fortune 500 company and had to quit because her husband was using drugs? Remember her?
Yes.
And we were looking at her and going, tell us why. She said, because I committed to staying in this marriage. He has since died in the last few months, right?
Oh wow.
He did. He died, and she had his funeral, and she said, "I never regretted staying with him because I understood what his traumas were that led to where he ended up. Just he just could not get off the drug, just could not stop using, just could
Yeah.
not stop using. So it damaged his organs, and he began to get really sick, etc., etc. She stayed with him to the very end, and I
Mm.
don't know many people who would have
That
done
was
that.
yeah, it's tough. I mean, you have varying degrees of people.
Yeah.
Tracy went through his addiction, and I
Mhm.
don't believe that I could have been his wife during that time. So,
Yes.
you have people with different tolerance levels. I
Mhm.
was listening to a snippet of Montel Jordan. Um, he's been married with his wife for like 30 some odd years,
Mhm.
and he was saying, because it's everlasting, he said people are looking for their exit and not their forever. Or he made some statement that was very, it made so much sense. He
Mhm.
said people just always looking for, their exit, and we are everlasting. And he said, and so as a result of that thought process, that commitment
Mhm.
to each other, that we are everlasting, we
Mhm.
work it out.
Yeah.
We
Looking
work
for
it
their
out.
exit. Yeah. Yeah.
you know
And so my friend Denise, she's talking about all the different young people around her. We see it all the time. It's like, oh my God, I can't. He did this or she did that, and I can't. Mm-mm. You will look up and turn 60, wondering why you don't have that forever person because you were too judgmental. Which one of us are perfect people? Not a damn one. Not a single one. Right?
yeah.
And we have work to do. All right, my darling. How can people find you? Like we don't know.
Right at Booker's Restaurant and Bar, 5021 Baltimore Avenue.
Yeah.
What do we got going on? We've got our live music on Fridays and Sundays. I think that's the best deal in town, especially Sunday supper, $45 three
Mhm.
course meal with live entertainment, no cover
Mhm.
charge. And see, is there anything special going on at Booker's? If people don't have their holiday plans, we'd love to host you. We do large parties really, really well. We do catering really, really well. We have our private space. Um, and then we're bringing back our happy hour brunch. So from 10 to
Oh,
12,
okay.
happy hour brunch. So I think that starts on Monday. So
Okay.
we wanted to give a Christmas gift early.
Good. Happy hour brunch starts on Monday, 10 to 12. They're hosting you for want to host you for Christmas, 5021 Baltimore Avenue. I heard 5021 Baltimore Avenue. I can recite it in my sleep.
Right.
Booker's
Exactly.
Restaurant and Bar. Go support this black owned business. I want to add this here.
Yeah, we were
With
talking about that too. Just real sidebar. On the trip, there have been some people that had canceled, and so I was talking to the ladies, and one young lady who was on the trip was from USAID, and they were saying yes, so many women were laid off before the trip and had to cancel,
oh wow.
and a girl, she was like, I work for USA, and she said, I lost my job too, but I decided to throw caution to the wind and just, trust that this is something that I needed to do. And so, we definitely still have to be we're impacted by that. We're impacted. I was looking at shipping some things from South Africa, 30% tariff, 30% tariff. Um, on certain goods. So, this economy is really challenging for people. As much as I may not necessarily have voted for this administration, I still want the country to do well, because if it doesn't, that's impactful to all of us in different
Absolutely.
ways, whether it's you have a job and lose it, whether you have a business and you're suffering from the tariffs and, the economy and, just all those things. So, I'm really prayerful that things turn around for 2026. I'm really excited that so many things are happening in Philadelphia, the year 250, FIFA, Major League
Mhm.
Baseball, the March Madness and all that. But as you think about how you spend your dollars, and I mean that's everything from toilet paper to dishwashing liquid to all those things. Just know those small black businesses are really challenged right now,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
we talk about it constantly among in our circle as business owners. So when you think about
Yeah.
going out to eat, please just think about us.
Yeah. We will. And we're all looking for a deal at this point because spending that kind of money to eat out when it could be a week's worth of groceries. We're thinking about all those
Dude,
things. So,
groceries are even expensive. Woo.
child.
Every time I go, I'm like, what do we get? I mean, literally, because it's not like I cook a ton. I cook a couple meals a week, but it's like $200 for just like 2 meals. I'm like, I might as well go out. But yeah, so that's why they suffer at $45. You know, you get a shared appetizer, you get, nice entree, you get a dessert and music. So it's kind of like a cool, inexpensive date night. I would do it.
Yeah, for $45. All right. A shared appetizer, a really nice entree, and a dessert. Yeah. Plus entertainment. Praise the
Plus
Lord.
entertainment with no cover. Yep.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, my sisters. Always a pleasure talking to you.
Everyone have an amazing day. Thank you, guys.
You too,
Talk to
honey.
you later.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Katisha, you said, my hubby is my best friend. When we first got married, my hubby said there's only one D in this marriage, and it ain't divorce. I'm very happy because he stands on that 1D statement. So I had to tell you this, Katisha. One day my husband was getting on my nerves. I was like, oh my God, I need to find somebody else. He said, where are you going? He said, you're not getting divorced here. Not over here. Not over here. So, I just want to thank, okay, y'all, I got to go because my grandchildren are on the phone and I'm so excited to say, hi, Mom. This episode of Mornings with Mom was officially over. I am Andrea Lawful Sanders. I'll see you when I see